congratulations, you come to the right room, especially after a very, very good lunch and navigating through the corridor. You're here. You're the champions. So congratulations. And welcome to this session titled Communicating IT Values to Business to Scale Digital Success. My name is Linda Ding. I'm Director of Solutions Marketing at Automation Anywhere. I'm not the speaker today, but it's my pleasure to introduce you to Sanjay Gupta, who is the Vice President of Quadient and for Global Solutions.
Thank you.
So in the past few months, I've been having the privilege of working very closely with Sanjay on this topic, and I can guarantee you, you're having a great treat to get the inside scoop into this IT journey, how to become the hero, a superhero for your organization. And with that, I do have, you have the safe harbor statement, so you're probably very familiar. So some of the features and capabilities showcased here will be forward-looking, so make your investment decisions wisely, accordingly. And also, this is a quick reminder and review of the new system work that's being covered during the product keynote yesterday, as well as during several sessions. So if you're not familiar with, this is the latest overview of our automation success platform. And I'm sure that you're very familiar with some of the key components, such as RPA, but as you see, that Automation Anywhere has evolved and expanded beyond that, and providing you a very comprehensive approach to automation success. So from the foundational layer at the governance level to the orchestration across multiple systems, now leveraging large language models, to also the engagement layer for both of your business users and the automators. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Sanjay to talk about the topic of today, how to communicate IT value to business users successfully.
Thank you so much, Linda.
Let's
Hello,
give
everybody.
him a round of applause. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. How's everybody doing? Okay. The day 2 is always harder. You've already listened so much, and I know I have. It's like drinking through the fire hose. So much information has gone to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try not to repeat things that you have already heard, because it's a waste of everybody's time. Okay? And not only day 2 is difficult, the sessions after lunch are more difficult. Okay? So we'll try to keep it interesting. Okay? Let's do it. So I'm Sanjay Gupta. I work for Quadient. I've been there, done it a few times. I'm very, very automation enthusiast. We've seen it, things not working. We've seen things working. I'm going to walk you through today, like how we did our journey, what did we learn, and there are 3 things if we can take out from this session, I'll be successful. Number 1, for the audience who are thinking about automation, what are the triggers that you need to look for that will justify we should have the program, number 1. Number 2, if you have just started the program, how do we justify the ROI? And I'm not talking about monetary ROI, because everybody looks for monetary ROI. CFO says how much money you're going to save. I'm going to talk about alternate ROIs, right? That is important, because in the big picture, sometimes those ROIs are missed. So how do you justify the program without monetary ROI? And the third one is, if you already have the program, you started running it, how do you scale it up? So if we can get 3 things out of it, next 45 minutes, that would be good. Okay? So who's Quadient? We are a European company, a little bit a billion plus euro. We are very global. You will see that in our presentation, because what happens when you are really global is you have a variety of applications. It's not like one company just have one CRM and one ERP. It's plethora of systems, plethora of technology. We have around 500,000 customers. Half of them are in US, so we have a big presence in US with 5,200 employees, and we have 3 major solutions. I will talk about that. What do? We simplify the connection between people and what matters. What does that mean? It could be an insurance claim, a welcome letter. Let me give a better example. So when you go back home, you open your mailbox, you see those bunch of envelopes. most of the time you do not see a postage stamp stick to it. Instead, there is a postage stamp printed on it. We make those machines that make it happen. Okay? So that's one thing. As we said, we have 3 verticals. The second one is about parcel lockers. When you go to Lowe's, if you order a Lowe's.com, you go and self pick up just like Amazon, and when you go to Lowe's, you open the locker, you got your package right there. We build those lockers, we support those lockers, everything behind that magic is done by Quadient. Things like that. So each of those interactions, each of those letters being delivered physically or through email is a connection. We want to make sure those connections are meaningful, and we want to make sure those packages reach to the right audience at the right time. You don't want somebody else's package. So with that background, how did we start the journey? And I talked about triggers. We had to find our triggers. What forced us to start thinking about automation? I said we are a European global company. We are around 95-year-old company. We're going to be completing 100 years very soon. When you are that old, what happens? You have a lot of technology platform, a mix. It's not very simple to have one or ERP or a one Salesforce or a couple of tools. It brings you a lot of different variety, a lot of proprietary systems, things that cannot be changed. That your technology stack is really complicated if you're a really old company. So what do? We try to optimize within those technology, we try to optimize and integrate things like that, but then business wants more. What do they want? They want to optimize more. They want to do more with less. That's when, so that was our trigger. That's when we started looking from outside. We needed a tool that can do more than what we have already explored. So that was one trigger. Complex technical stack. If any of you have it, you really need some outside help. The second thing, we grew organically, but we also grew by doing a lot of mergers and acquisitions. So then what happens when you acquire more companies? It comes with its own technical stack. What we have been using as a CRM, what we have been using as a ERP may not be those companies using. They come with, if we have a Salesforce as a CRM, they come with Workday as a CRM. If we have a SAP, they come with Oracle. And it's very hard to combine those systems. In any M&A, when we grew, what happens first? We consolidate the business teams. If there are 2 sales teams, now they're going to combine and have 1 sales team. If there are 2 order to cash, we can somehow combine and say now we have 1 team. The point is, it is always going to be easier and faster to combine those business teams. It's going to be a little harder, and it's going to take longer to combine those systems we have acquired. What does that do to us? Those teams which are now combined are now have to go and work into multiple systems because they are 1 team. That's opposite of efficiency. So that was our second trigger. When we saw the teams who were going into 1 system and doing their day-to-day job now have to go into multiple systems, we have to think about more automation. So I talked about triggers. We need to find every company, each of you will have some trigger in your organization that would force you to look out and say, hey, we tried enough, but we need more automation. And that's how we started our journey to look for automation anywhere and the tools. So the first thing I talked about trigger, I gave you 2 examples, something like that. I'm sure there is a trigger in your organization that would force you to seek outside help, because business always wants more and more and more, which is normal. That's business imperative. So what we do? Where do we focus? We focus on people, we focus on process and technology. But what is more important? The most important thing is people, and I'm going to talk about that in other slides. So we found our trigger, we found the tool. How do we start? As I said, we are a global company with multiple systems and very geographically located teams. We are in 27 countries, but most of the business teams and IT teams are in 4 major areas: US, UK, Germany, and France. Those are the 4 areas which take care of all adjacent geographies. We could not have left behind one geography and said we are going to do automation in only one area. We created a global center of excellence. It was hard, but that was the right thing to do, because sometimes the business teams and IT teams, it's the same team working on various geographies. You cannot just say, hey, we are going to leave you doing manual stuff and automate the other areas. How did we do that? You need a lot of communication and getting everybody to the same page. We all need to have the same purpose. If some of you have heard the keynote today, we talked about purpose. If we all have same goal, it will create the same purpose. Then only we will be successful. So we did not want to leave anybody behind. We created common understanding. We agreed on how we are going to do about it. Our goal was everybody's goal, and that's how we started it. Then the challenge came up about speed and scale. How fast we should do it? How do we scale? And we stumbled on it. We really did not do a very good job, but we learned a very valuable lesson that I want to share. This journey is not a sprint. It's a marathon. If we try to do too fast, we may fall, but we will learn. What we learned is it's a marathon. Let's set up right. It will go long way, especially if you are much more global, especially if your teams are not all in one place. You have to go slow and set it up right. You have to create local business automation owners. We had to do that because a lot of time business teams in France were not talking to Germany, not talking to US. So we have to set up some people who are champions, and that is the key. Now let's talk about what to automate first. Because when you start the program, there's a lot of opportunities, but what is the right opportunity? So I talked about we created local business champions for automation. We collected a lot of business processes from them, and then we held regional botathons. We wanted to make sure this is not an IT driven project, it's a business driven project, and that is the key we heard all along in many sessions in last day and a half. We did a lot of botathons that focuses with IT and business people both. And the most interesting point, and I'm going to get to the alternate ROIs that I talked about, is we did not focus on benefit of reducing headcount, because in the very beginning when we started the program, a lot of people were afraid, what's going to happen if you automate everything? I'm going to lose my job. And we learned how to navigate through that challenge and how to come up with alternative ROI that I'm going to get to. And I'm going to give you some use cases and example. How did we do that? No matter what we decided to do is we're not going to create unique solutions for each geography, because then we're not really creating a standard. So we agreed on some best practices from the very beginning, and then we created a standard solution. So for example, if you want to log into a system, or if you want to read through an email, because every business process have some commonalities, like reading through an email attachment, logging to the system. How do we create standard about creating those small parts? So we agreed on how we're going to do it. So later when we have to scale, we should be able to use one component and start multiplying them in multiple business processes. So that's how we started thinking about standardization. So this is a very important slide. I'm going to spend a few minutes here. I talked about, a lot of people talk about how do you create business buy-in? How do you make sure it is not seen as a IT initiative? And I talked about how did we create business champions. What we did is something very unique, and I've been talking about it, and it's really well received. When we selected a business process and we said we're going to automate it, once it is done and once it moved to production, we went to that business process owner who owns the business process and said, hey, we want you to give a name to this bot, because this is a digital worker who is going to work for you. It's just not a bot, it's a digital worker. We do not call them bot, we call them digital worker. Interestingly enough, the people who owns those business process name those bots after their children, after their pets, after their superheroes they believe in. And what does it do? It creates a very special attachment to that automation with them. My objective is to have our org chart for any department. You have 10 people and you have 3 digital worker. So when we display the org chart, you have 13 people. We are trying to blur the boundary between the human and a digital worker. So we talk like, okay, how is Max doing today? Does Army needs more firepower because it has been working a lot more transaction? Do we need to train Wally on do something different? And we review it for how their performance is, just like we review the performance of any human worker. The idea is to create a buy-in with the business, with their digital worker, so they all work as a team. And this has worked out very well for us. So while we do all this, the partner really matters. We partner with Automation Anywhere. So I'll take a step back. When we're deciding what to do and which partner to choose, and everybody goes through that point like, hey, what is the right partner? And I'll just leave this slide with one point. The main reason we chose Automation Anywhere is because not only they were giving us technology, but they were backing us with their team and professional services, which we were not getting with some other vendors. So we made that decision because of that, because we were very new and we wanted to know how we're doing. We wanted somebody from outside to tell us what you're doing is right. We wanted somebody to be our true critique and work along with us, and that has worked out very well. Now let's talk about how do we show that how digital workers are working. I talked about just like we measure the people, we measure the bots. We measure those digital workers, how they're doing. We created common reporting to show what a digital worker is supposed to be doing, is doing or not doing. How has they been their performance? If they are overloaded, do we need to add more firepower to them? Do we need to shift their timing because they're going slow or fast? It's no different than how you talk to a human worker and say, hey, what's your problem? How can we help you? How can we make you more empowered? Again, going back, blurring the boundary between a human worker and digital worker and make a bigger team. Let me give you some example about, I talked about alternative ROIs. In any business environment, there are going to be some business processes which are revenue generation and some which are not revenue generation, but you have to do it. So for example, in our area, we have a big, not big, well, if you add the digital worker, yes, it is. We have a team of order entry people and we have a team of returns, right? Because people return the equipments. When we deal with hardware, you have a return, right? Typically, the returns process is non-revenue generating and creating new orders more revenue generating. And we had people in returns. What we did is, without going into a lot of details, we automated the return process. And when we were automating, we didn't say that, hey, when we go every return which takes 40 to 45 minutes and we go to 5 to 10 minutes and we have a lot of returns that we process, we didn't say you have to reduce your time, reduce your team. We automated the process, we took some of the people from here, we simply moved it into revenue generating. So that's how we created the ROI of this bot, because now more and more people can do more revenue generation activities, and then at the end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the year, we can generate more revenue, and we were able to show that, right? Without taking any single headcount, we generated more ROI. This is my favorite example. When we look at order entry, and if anybody is in the sales or customer service, they will relate to it. A very typical way the orders work, and we are the culprit of it, it's like a funnel. If you look at the whole month, first 15 days, we get 25% of the order, because everybody is waiting to sign the order towards the month end. They think that's going to be the best deal, right? What does it do? What does this behavior does to the teams which are supporting order? Typically, first 15 days we get 25% of the order. Next 10 days we get another 25% of the order, and last 5 days, last week of the month, we get 50% of the order for the month. It's huge. It's a big challenge, because we have the fixed amount of people who does the order entry. And those last week, if somebody is in order entry, I salute to them, because they work like crazy. They work like bots. They work overtime, they work weekend. Still, there is always some orders they leave behind for the next month. They simply cannot keep up with the demand, because the nature, right? What did we do? Any orders, if you look at any business process, anybody selling something, a variety of things, there are going to be some simple orders, simple equipment, simple stuff, and there are going to be some larger ones. Like if you're selling it to the national account, selling it to the big customers, the milling machine that we sell it to a small dentist or attorney office is much simpler than the mailing machine that we sell it to a Bank of America or a Fidelity or to a national account. So some orders take 25 to 30 minutes to enter, some order takes 3 hours, and some order takes probably half a day, because it's just complicated. The line items are humongous. So the SLA to the big organization to turn around our orders are much larger. What we did, we took the simple orders which were taking half an hour to 2 hours, and we automated them, because those were very standard. What did it do? It simply gave those orders to our bot, and bots are handling that, digital workers, and we moved people who were doing low value order to give the high value order. Suddenly there is a huge shift, because now we have more people working on high value orders. We were able to turn around much faster. Those are high value customers. The orders that we were turning around in 4 hours are being turned around in 2 hours. We are not leaving anything on the table, but here is the key. We saw a drastic reduction in the overtime we were paying. That's the ROI. That's the financial ROI. We were not paying so much ROI weekend and then the late hours and all the overtime that we were paying. More importantly, all those people got a better work-life balance, because now they can have their weekend, right? It was a huge shift. That's another example of ROI creation by thinking about which portion of the business process you should automate. If you think from outside and you say, hey, why don't we automate big orders, because that looks like a big revenue. But no, it's exactly opposite. So when you do the process analysis, you've got to think about where is your low-hanging fruit. At the end, in the big picture, what makes more sense. Right? So that's another example. This is another example I want to give where automation has been helping us very, very good. So we are an Oracle shop in US, we're an SAP shop in Europe. We have been on Oracle on-premise EPS, and we're trying to go to the cloud. A lot of companies are going to the cloud. When you go to the cloud, and so before we go there, when you have been on an on-premise system for a long time, what does it happen? Because it's on-premise, we create a lot of customization, we create a lot of custom reports, we create a lot of things for business people. I would say we spoil them, because they'll say, hey, I want to do this. Yes, we can do it, and we just do it. Years and years and years, the on-premise system looks very different than how we have bought it. When you go to the cloud, you do not do customization. When you go to the cloud, it comes a fixed set of vanilla functionalities. You can do customization. It's going to be costly. It's going to be your hurdle to go to the next version, because they're going to keep releasing versions. So you really should avoid customization. And if you create a lot of extension, sometimes they charge by number of transactions you are customized. So there is a cost. What we did, and because our business users have been spoiled, I'm sorry using that word, they got used to so much of doing things the way they're doing, they expect all those things there. So what are we doing? We're trying to strike a balance. Instead of customizing all those things that they used to in cloud, we're saying let's do the automation using RPA. We found a lot of business cases where we're going to keep our system vanilla, but at the same time we're going to automate and give them all those automation that they have been used to. So that's another area that's opening a lot of opportunities for us. Okay, so I gave you 3 examples how to get the ROI without taking heads off. How do we justify the program, and what are the triggers? So, in short, what did we learn? We talk about people, process, technology, and I said people are the most important thing because we can tinker with process. We can change the processes. Technology for sure is here to change. What is here today may not be there in 5 years. What we have today was not there 5 years ago. But it's the people who are the biggest asset. If we create a belief, champions with people, they will work with any process you recommend. They will work with any technology that comes along because that's the key. So that's why we need to collaborate with them. And if they understand what is your methodology for the center of excellence, they will adapt to it. It eases the change management process because, as I said earlier, if we all have a one common goal, we're going to work towards that. Coming to process side, what we learned is it is not important to automate end-to-end process because sometimes processes are complicated. They cross the system boundaries. Something starts from Salesforce, goes to your middleware, goes to your back-end system, and then goes to other systems. No, you do not have to automate the whole process. Find your quick wins. Business will be happy if you give them something that helps their day-to-day work without, and also that helps them understand, no, I'm not going to take your whole process automation, I'm not taking your head out, I'm just here to help you. So find your portion of the process that you can automate. Standardization, I talked about it. And then, as we said, ROI is not only monetary. It could be your improved SLA, it could be your better work-life balance for people, it could be a portion of automation. It's not only monetary. If you look at the big picture, technology doesn't really matter a lot. All you have to do is be on the latest and greatest because it helps you not to reinvent the wheel. I will give you an example. When we were on premise and we were not on a 360 cloud, we were very hesitant. And we, being a European company, anything we want to change is harder than ever. We had that challenge. What did we do? We went to those business owners who were really not really ready to put everything on cloud. We did some customer references from other Automation Anywhere customers, and we let them talk. Sometimes when IT is telling business to do it, sometimes it's being taken as a grain of salt, like why they want to do it. We had those customer to customer interaction, and that really helped us alleviate some of the pains, like okay, that's fine. Some of the European customer to European customers, and that helped. So it always helped to be on latest and greatest because we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that's what we learn in people, process, technology, and there is a fourth component of strategy, but that kind of goes along with it. So I didn't have to specifically say that. That's what we learned. All good. We started our journey, we scaled our journey, we're very established center of excellence now. We're doing, so in our almost 3 years, we have like a 50+ bots, which are working very fine, all the digital workers. What are we doing now? Here is our wish list. So most of automation right now that we have is about business processes on the back end, business process on the sales. We do not have a lot of business process automated on the call center side. So we're looking into agent assisted automation. As I said, we have 3 business pillars: our hardware, our parcel locker side I explained, and we have some software for AP and AR. We're looking into other business channel where we can do. New technology platform. There are a lot of new technologies that have come up. We're looking into that. Process discovery. It sounds like we have nailed it, but there is a huge opportunity. We still are not there what we want to do. How to find the best business process. There is endless opportunity to find the right process. We're still working through it. And then comes generative AI. Everybody's there. Everybody is going there. We do not want to miss the train. So we're going to put our heads down and see how we can use it, where we can use it. There have been a lot of business processes which were complicated and not easy to automate, but I have a hope with Gen AI. I think now we can go back and take a look at it. Now we can do it. So that's where we're going to start looking into it. So those are the things that we have been looking for. And I would pause here and take some questions if you have.
All right. Well, let's give Sanjay a round of applause. I think you can all relate to this is a pretty complex journey that you are embarking on, right? And I think before the session started, a lot of you said that you are just like Sanjay for your organizations, corralling everyone, all your stakeholders together to embark on this automation journey. So congratulations for a great job, well done. So it's your moment to ask anything that you want to ask Sanjay about. I'm sure that you have a lot of burning questions, right? Coming to this room. Yes, I'll come to you.
Actually, Sanjay, it's a pretty simple question. Very impressive journey. So I was wondering, and pardon me if I missed the earlier first 4 minutes, how long has this journey been for you guys? Because I understand it's a pretty, the company is pretty old, like you were saying, old systems, and having worked at different corporates, which are well established, I totally understand the pain that comes with older systems. So I'm very intrigued by your journey, and that's why I wanted to know how, you know.
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? No? Hello? Okay.
You need to look, can you speak into the mic so we can record it?
Oh, okay. So very good question. Thank you. It's been a learning curve. It's been really learning, and we were new to it. What I would do is I'll give you some kind of stats. So we have been doing it for around, I will say 3 years, and I said we have around 50 bots. First year, I think we had like 7 or 8. The second year we doubled down. We did around 20 bots, and then third year we had around another 20 bots. This year alone, so far in half year, we had around 16 bots. So I think you scale up as you learn from your journey. As you create the standards, it makes it easier to repeat those things, and everybody has a workbook to follow how to do those things. And as you create more and more digital worker, you're not going to start from scratch because you are always enabled to use a portion of it, because a lot of business processes have some component which are common. So yes, I mean, if we look from those number perspective, that has been how we did. Thank you for the question.
I have a question about your center of excellence that you stood up. Can you talk me through like what steps you took to get that set up, how many people were involved, and how big the team was originally when you started?
Yeah, thank you. Very good question, because that has been our key win, how we are successful because of center of excellence. What we did is we started with a very small team, but we started with very good standards. We wanted to create common definition of how we're going to do things. We created some digital standard of how automation should look like. We had a vision, but we didn't know how to go about it. So we kept a very simple approach. We wanted to do things right. As I said, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. If you just try to run too fast in the very beginning, we're just going to stumble. And that's what we learned. We started slow, but we started right. We created some standard. For example, just like any other project management, any other development life cycle, when somebody creates a bot, automation, there is somebody looking at the code check. We do the QA, just like any program. So we created those standards that we follow in typical software development life cycle, and we just followed them. Our center of excellence was 4 people in the very beginning, and with some business people in there, and so it was a slow start. Thank you.
So you say you have around 50 bots, or 50 automations, and I was just curious. I liked your slides on each bot. It was kind of like a standardized slide with your your benefits, quote from the customer, that kind of thing. But when you have 50 automations, it becomes very difficult to tell the full story of each one. So what kind of like program level KPIs do you track? And yeah.
Thank you. Very good question. So yeah, on that slide I showed a few. I didn't want to put 50, but the idea is same. Business owns those automation. They have a name for it. They are a digital worker. They're part of their team. Again, blurring the line between the human worker and digital worker. We track almost all the automation same way. What was their purpose, how they're supposed to do, and how they're doing it. If somebody is supposed to automate 1,000 order a month, are they doing it? What is their error rate, right? What are the exceptions they're dealing with, and how do we feed back that exception? It's just a feedback layer. We cannot make everything perfect day one, but when we look at the exception, when we look at the error report, and we keep on improving again and again and again, it just becomes better and better and better, just like any human. As you train them better, it performs better. As you train your bots better, it performs better. So we just measure them against what you're supposed to do versus how you're doing, and what is the methodology of improving them. And that's how we measure their performance.
So you said the business owns the bot, right? So
Yes.
are they running the operations? So bot fails, who fixes that?
No.
Okay,
So
good.
that's a very, very, very good question. So there is a boundary, because business people are not technical people. They own, when we say they own the bot, is they own from what the bot is supposed to do, is it doing or not doing. When the reports comes out that the bot is supposed to do X and it spit out some transaction that it was not able to do, they understand why, because they have been involved in telling us what bot's supposed to do, and they just take care of those exceptions. Sometimes they come to us and say, hey, why can't we automate? Now I'm seeing these things happening more often and often. This is not an exception, this is becoming a norm. A, either we change the business process, or B, we have a much more volume. So we work very closely. They do not fix the bot. We fix the bot, the center of excellence, but they, most of the time, just they take care of it. It's running fine. They measure it. If something goes down, they just tell us. But we don't have to go to them every day that, hey, Wally did something. This is how Wally is doing, or Hermes is doing, or anybody else is doing. So the technical work, we still do that. Having said that, I was talking to Linda, and she asked kind of a similar question. In last few years, we have identified some business owners who are actually, I would say, techno business owners. They like to be a little bit more hands-on, and we have been kind of training them in-house that, hey, why don't you create a simple bot? Again, it goes back to how to create the buy-in. If they understand what we do, they will understand why we're doing it. So yes, there have been some business champions, some low complexity business process that we have let them automate. So we're getting there. But complicated one, it's going to take some time. But good question. Yes.
More question? Well, I have a burning question,
Sure.
Sanjay. So yesterday, if you attended the keynote yesterday with Matthias, he mentioned on average enterprise has about 967 applications, right? How many applications do you have, given that your global footprint?
I think if we add up all our M&As that we did in our original company, I would say we'll be very close to that number. And if we especially add up all the proprietary system we have. But everything is not automated. But yes, we're almost there. As we said, we're an old company, 90 plus year old. It brings with a lot of legacy system, technical debt. So we focus on things that we can automate. But yeah, yes, we're almost there.
So I can only imagine that with close to 1,000 applications, every application claims that we are the automation, application of choice. So how do you structure your tech stack, and how do you position automation anywhere in your tech stack?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a very good question. So when we talk about automation, there are two things, two ways of automation. One is your business process automation. Things are in your order to cash. Things are in your sales. Things are in your accounting and finance. Those departments, those business process. And then then the business processes which are very customer centric. So when we talk about automation in Quadient, we have two, I don't want to say two COE, but two focus of attention. One is we have, for example, for the customer service and customer facing, we have a Salesforce Einstein. So we have a lot of chatbot that we develop because that's a customer facing. Automation Anywhere has been helping us to automate a lot of business processes on the back end, because those cross system boundaries, they need more integration. They have to go through many steps. So Automation Anywhere, I would say, going across the business functions, going across the systems, that's where we use them. Chatbot, Einstein, all those are very customer facing.
That's awesome. That's music to our ears. Yes. How many applications do you guys have? We're very interested. Shout out the number. 200? Raise your hand. 300? 4? 4? 5? 500? 6? 7? Losing track. But I mean, as a conclusion, I think really thank you, for your tremendous leadership. I mean, managing all those 1,000 applications, and who knows how many functional stakeholders that you have to deliver the communications to, and get everyone on the same page with the company objectives, right? I really appreciate the vision Quadient has, that is to simplify the connection between people and the relationships. So you are definitely delivering that vision, and we're very honored to be part of it. And with that, let's give Sanjay another round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And so stay tuned. We have more sessions like this awesome one and to come. So make sure that you check it out. I would personally refer to a session that is on the Automation Copilot, where it's going to be led by Jeffrey, who is our product manager for Automation Copilot. I don't remember the name, the room number, but oh, thank you. Manchester G, which is on the 5th floor. So go and check it out, because this is another great example of orchestrating multiple processes and applications together through Automation Copilot. So with that, we wish you all the success you need for your career and your journey of automation. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you, everybody. Thank you.